My girlfriend said, "You made me do that. You went cold." I replied, "I stopped being available, then I changed passwords, revoked her entry, and moved out. I saved the access log, the 1040 p.m., sign and photo, and the bank alert. Then I pulled one last thing. The warehouse security clip. I was staring at an access log on my office monitor when my stomach went cold. The log showed a late-night login to my client portal from my home Wi-Fi. The device name was not mine. It was labeled Maris iPad. Outside my window, the loading bay lights washed the snow into a dull glow. A forklift beeped once, then went quiet again. In that moment, I understood something that had taken me 2 years to admit. I had not been losing her love, I had been feeding her control. My name is Gareth Lewin. I'm 41, and I run operations for a high-end art logistics firm in the Finger Lakes. I oversee shipments for collectors and galleries, the kind that travel in sealed crates with temperature sensors. My whole job is chain of custody, one clean handoff after another. When a link goes soft, things disappear. Maris Arden was 39, a realtor with a sharp smile and a phone that never stopped buzzing. We had been dating for 2 years and living together in a rented townhouse in Skaneateles for one. The place always smelled like the cinnamon candle she lit before showings. Our mudroom was stacked with open house signs, and a robot vacuum ran every morning like a tiny guard dog. I thought I was being a good boyfriend. I made her coffee. I filled her gas tank when she forgot. I showed up to her listings with lunch when she skipped meals to chase commissions. I did not know I was training her to see my effort as weakness. The first confrontation happened at one of her listings, a vacant lake cottage that still smelled like fresh paint and sawdust. I walked in carrying a paper bag from her favorite sandwich shop and 2 soups so she could eat something warm. She did not even look happy. She looked embarrassed. She pulled me aside near the empty fireplace and lowered her voice like I had done something rude. "You're too available," she said. "It's unattractive." I blinked, waiting for the joke, but her face stayed hard. I asked her what she meant, and she shrugged like it was obvious. "You show up like a golden retriever," she added. "It makes me feel like you have nothing going on." The words hit me in the ribs. I looked at the lunch in my hands and felt stupid for thinking care would be appreciated. That was the moment the ground shifted. I didn't argue. I didn't plead. I just nodded once and said, "You're right." Then I set the bag on the kitchen counter and walked out like I had a meeting. I heard her heels click behind me, but she didn't chase. That night, I sat at our dining table while the robot vacuum bumped into chair legs and turned away. I kept hearing her line, "Too available," like it was a diagnosis. Here is a simple rule I wish I learned earlier. If someone mocks your kindness, believe them the first time. I did not become cruel. I became scheduled. I stopped hovering. I stopped doing the little rescues that filled her gaps. I treated my own life like it mattered. At work, my calendar is not decoration, it is survival. If I miss a call, a shipment can sit on a dock too long. If a document is late, insurance can drop coverage. So I started running my personal life the same way, strict, clean, and calm. Maris noticed in days. When she texted, "Can you bring me coffee?" I answered later, not instantly. When she wanted me to cancel the gym because she had a last-minute showing, I said I couldn't. When she pouted, I stayed quiet. Every 60 seconds she tested me, I felt myself changing. She tried a different angle. One night she curled up beside me on the couch and acted sweet. "I like you better when you're chill," she said, tracing circles on my wrist. I didn't bite. The sweetness was not affection, it was bait. 2 weeks after the lunch incident, my assistant told me we had a problem in Miami. A new client needed on-site oversight for a collection move into a private storage suite. The window was tight because the insurer required a live handoff and same-day seal checks. It was work that could put me on the radar for bigger contracts. Maris heard the word Miami and rolled her eyes like my job was a hobby. "Fine," she said. "Go play important." Then she added, "Don't forget your phone exists." She said it like a warning. My chest went tight, but I kept my voice even. I left before dawn, parked at the Syracuse airport garage, and boarded a flight with a carry-on full of manifests and gloves. The client's name was Yara Solen. She was 24, the founder of a small design brand that suddenly had money and attention. She was also, in the way people can't stop noticing, gorgeous. On the ground in Miami, everything smelled like salt and hot pavement. The client site was a bright glass building with a security desk and polished floors. I kept my tone professional and my eyes on the job. Chain of custody does not care how pretty the client is. Maris did not know any of that. All she knew was that I was gone and she was not in control. She called my office, not my phone, like she wanted an audience. My assistant answered. She told Maris politely that I was unavailable and in Miami with a client. That should have been the end. Instead, it lit a fuse. The first proof hit me as a location detail, the kind that seems small until you zoom in. The building manager at our warehouse texted me a photo of the visitor sign and sheet. Maris had signed in at 1040 p.m. and wrote "girlfriend" in big letters. The manager wrote, "She said she needed your itinerary." I stared at the photo in my hotel room while the air conditioner rattled. It wasn't just that she came to my work. It was the timing late at night when she knew I was out of town. She was not missing me, she was tracking me. Here's another practical lesson. If someone needs access to calm their nerves, they don't want reassurance. They want control, and control always costs you more later. I didn't call her. I didn't want to fight from 2 states away. I finished the day's handoff, watched the seals get stamped, and signed the chain of custody form with the insurer's rep. I stayed calm on the outside, but my mind was running numbers. The next morning, the second proof arrived, and it was communication, clear and ugly. I got an email forwarded from Yara's family office. The subject line read, "Urgent, inappropriate contact." Attached was a screenshot of a message sent to Yara from a Realty email address. It was from Maris. She wrote, "Please be aware Gareth is in a committed relationship. If you are trying to steal him, I will make sure people know." She added a line about girls who use money to trap men. My face went hot. I felt the shame like a punch because it wasn't even about me, it was about my business. Yara's reply was short. "I hired him for work. This is unprofessional." Her assistant then added, "Do we need to replace your firm?" That was the cliff edge, a contract hanging over open water. I stepped into a quiet hallway near the freight elevator and called my older lawyer, Alaric Boone. He was 67, blunt and calm in a way that made chaos feel small. He listened to the facts without drama, then said, "Protect your work first, feelings later." That night, I met him in person at an after-hours auto glass shop near the marina where he was already helping another client. The waiting area smelled like rubber and adhesive. A cracked vinyl chair stuck to my coat when I stood up. Alaric read the screenshots and didn't flinch. "Your girlfriend is interfering with a client relationship," he said. "That is not a romance problem, that is a liability problem." He told me to document everything, notify my employer, and put a boundary in writing. He also told me, very simply, to change my access points. "Locks exist for a reason," he said. I went back to my hotel and did not sleep much. I kept thinking about how Maris called me too available, then punished me for being unavailable. I kept hearing her voice at the cottage, like "you have nothing going on." She was wrong. I had plenty going on. She just didn't like not being the center of it. On day 3, the money proof arrived, last in the stack, and it came as a bank alert on my phone. A charge hit my card for a last-minute flight and a hotel deposit in Miami. The merchant name was an airline, and the amount made my jaw tighten. Maris had used my saved card on our shared travel account to book herself down here. I called the airline and canceled what I could. Some of it was non-refundable. The agent said the booking email had already been sent. I asked what address, and she read it out loud. It was Maris's work email. Now I had location proof, communication proof, and money proof, all pointing one direction. Not love, not fear, control, chain of custody broken at home. I asked the warehouse manager for the security camera clip from the night she visited. He sent it an hour later. That was the killer receipt, and it made my hands go cold. The footage showed Maris at my desk in the warehouse office. She opened a drawer, pulled out a printed itinerary, and photographed it with her phone. Then she opened a folder labeled with the client's last name and flipped through pages like she had a right to them. She didn't just cross a line. She sprinted over it. I forwarded the clip to Alaric and to my company's compliance lead. We deal with private clients and strict privacy rules. A breach can end us fast. My boss didn't yell. He asked one question, quiet and sharp. Can she access your work again? No, I said. Not after today. I removed Maris from every shared app tied to my work, changed passwords, and revoked her access to our building entry list. I updated the emergency contact on my accounts too. It felt harsh, but it also felt clean. When I landed back in New York, I went straight to my office before I went home. I needed to keep my chain of custody intact. My assistant had a stack of notes from Maris's calls. Some were angry, some were crying. All were demands. That evening we had confrontation too, and it was loud. Maris was waiting in our townhouse kitchen with her arms crossed. The cinnamon candle was lit, but it didn't feel warm. It felt like stage lighting for a fight. She didn't ask if my trip went well. She didn't ask if the client was okay. She went straight to accusation. So, she said, how was Miami with your little client? I told her she contacted my client and put my job at risk. She shook her head fast, denying it like I was imagining things. I didn't do anything, she snapped. You're making me sound crazy. I held up the screenshot of her email. Her voice got sharper, not smaller. That was a warning, she said. Because you were acting suspicious. I pushed again. I told her she came to my warehouse at night and searched my desk. She flipped it back on me like she had practiced. You made me do that, she shouted. You went cold, you stopped chasing, you wanted me to feel small. Her words rushed out like blame was oxygen. I didn't scream back. I kept my tone low. You said being available was unattractive, I said, so I stopped being available. She looked stunned for half a second, then angry again. That's not what I meant, she yelled, but she couldn't explain what she did mean. The next morning, Alaric sent a short letter for me to sign. It wasn't dramatic. It stated one boundary, clear and firm. Maris was not to contact my clients, enter my workplace, or use my accounts. He also told me to protect my living situation. Our lease was in both names, and we were month to month after the first year. He told me to move first, then talk. Don't negotiate in the middle of a fire, he said. Put distance between you and the heat. I moved into a furnished carriage house room behind a bakery in Cazenovia. The place smelled like yeast and sugar every morning. The floors creaked, and the shower took a full minute to get warm. I slept better anyway. Maris tried to pull me back in with love bombing. She sent photos from old trips. She sent long texts about how she missed our teamwork. She even showed up at my office again, but this time the security desk had my new instructions. They didn't let her upstairs. That is advice number 3. If someone only respects you when a gate is closed, they never respected you. They respected access. The official consequences didn't come from me. They came from her own choices. Maris's managing broker received a complaint from Yara's family office attorney, complete with screenshots, and the header showing Maris used her brokerage email to harass a private client. The local realtor professional association called Maris in for an ethics review. They don't play with harassment or misuse of professional contact channels. Her broker put her on temporary suspension while they reviewed the case. The same friends who loved her bold confidence suddenly stopped answering. Maris didn't take that as a sign to reflect. She took it as a reason to blame me harder. She told people I sabotaged her. She told people I was cheating with a young client. She forgot that receipts don't care about stories. The legal climax was not a courtroom. It was a small conference room at her brokerage office with stale coffee in a pump pot. Alaric sat beside me, calm and still. Maris sat across from us with her broker present as a witness and judgment in one. That was confrontation 3, and it followed the remindable pattern like a script. First, she denied. "I never contacted anyone," she said, eyes wide, voice steady. Alaric slid the screenshot across the table without a word. Then she minimized. "It was one email," she said, waving a hand. "I was upset. People say things when they're upset." Her broker's face tightened like he'd smelled smoke. Then she partially admitted. "Fine," she said, jaw clenched. "I wrote it, but I wasn't trying to hurt anyone. I was trying to protect my relationship." She said relationship like it was a shield that excused everything. Then the emotional move came, fast and messy. Her voice cracked. Tears appeared like a switch flipped. "You changed," she said. "You stopped wanting me. You made me feel replaceable." She leaned forward like pain made her innocent. I didn't insult her. I didn't call her names. I said one thing, slow and clear. "You told me being available was unattractive," I said, "so I took my availability back." I watched her face twist because she understood the logic and hated it. Alaric spoke next, short and final. He outlined the boundary agreement and the move-out reminder. Maris's broker asked her if she understood that further contact with my clients could be reported again. She nodded, eyes down, because even she knew she couldn't win that part. We ended it there. I signed the papers. I handed in my keys to the townhouse and removed my name from every shared bill. Maris kept the place for 1 month, then she couldn't afford it alone. That wasn't revenge. That was math. A few months passed and my work steadied again. Yara did not fire my firm, but she demanded a new communication protocol, all contact through my assistant only. It stung because I had earned her trust and Maris had cracked it. Still, I rebuilt it, piece by piece, like I do with any damaged link in the chain of custody. The career shift came quietly. My boss moved me into a regional role and gave me 2 junior coordinators to train. I worked more, but I felt lighter doing it. There was no one at home punishing me for being focused. Maris tried to reach me later through a professional networking message request. It was a long note about how she was working on herself and how we could start fresh. I didn't respond. I didn't need to win. I needed to be done. My fresh start didn't look like a flashy upgrade. It looked like calm. I started seeing someone new the next spring, a steady woman named Kiva Hartnell who ran a wildlife rehabilitation center outside Canandaigua. When her phone buzzed during dinner, she silenced it without checking and said, "If it's urgent, they'll call twice." It was such a small thing, but it felt like respect. On a warm evening, we sat at a canal-side food truck courtyard in Fairport with paper trays of tacos and cold lemonade. The air smelled like grilled onions and river water. I watched the string lights sway in the breeze and realized my shoulders weren't tight anymore. I had my time back, my focus back, and my peace back. At work, chain of custody means you never hand something valuable to someone who can't be trusted with it. I learned the same rule in my personal life. Availability should be a gift, not a leash. And anyone who calls it unattractive doesn't deserve it. Thank you so much for watching the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe the channel.